Welcome. This is Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman and Nest Girls Productions. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Michelle Patterson, who is the president of the Women Network, as well as the president of the Women's Conference that's done every year. Good afternoon, Michelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I can't wait to spend this time with you,
You're
Desiree.
welcome. You're welcome. Do you feel empowered?
You know what? I do. I have days where I really feel empowered, and then days where I'm like, you know what? You're going through your day. So I've got great friends to keep me running hard.
Well, you are on my list of one of the powerhouse women because of the type of events that you do and the networks you do. So tell us a little about what you've been doing and what brings you to your journey today.
Well, thank you. So it's been an exciting last couple years. I had the honor of taking on the California Women's Conference. Maria Shriver had done this amazing job in 2012, and I was able to go ahead and take it on. After that, we just had an event this past 2014, so I've been doing it for the last 3.5 years. And I could pinch myself. I have a hard time. I mean, this is truly, and I tell my husband this, I have a hard time sleeping because I get to meet the most extraordinary, um, you know, change agents, individuals that are just doing amazing things in our world. And for me, my job is to connect the dots and create a stage and a platform for their message to get out. So it's been exciting. It's exhilarating. It's scary. There's times where I really feel like, okay, I'm in way over my head, and it's again, it's an amazing journey, and it's enjoyable. But yes, it had definitely some highs and some lows, and now it's easier for me to talk about the lows. But looking back, thank goodness that I had that experience because I think it only prepared us even that much more for what we have in store. And that's, we've taken this 30-year event, the California Women's Conference, and we've now gone global with it. So we've been putting it in other parts of the world, other countries. It's been exciting because we've been working with different organizations, so everything from the United Nations to NAVO to Black Enterprise, I mean, you name it. These organizations, when we sit down, the mindset is it's time. How do we support one another? How do we work collectively together? And so what we've done is we've taken this, extraordinary 30-year legacy of the California Women's Conference, and the feedback we got from our attendees was, let's have it continue. How do we have it go 365 days out of the year? So we created womennetwork.com, and what that does, it allows me the opportunity to speak to people like yourself and capture what you're working on, and then be able to go ahead and post it on this site. And it gives women in particular an opportunity to be able to see other women, doing the things that they want to do, and having that as an example of, I can do that, I can follow that. So if I sound like I'm passionate and excited about what I do, just a tad.
More than a tad. So backing up, the California Women's Conference, just to give people an idea of how big of a undertaking this is, because I do events, and even when I first heard about you were doing it, I said, I don't even imagine taking on that type of project because of all the moving parts between the speakers, between the attendees, between the marketing tables, between all the video, the audio, everything else. So this kind of give us an idea of how big that is.
Yeah, and thank you. It's the largest, longest running conference in the United States. Again, it's been around for 30 years. We've been able to go ahead and have speakers, everything from the Dalai Lama to Bono to Oprah. I mean, it's just amazing. This past May, we just had Ariana Huffington. We had over 200 speakers, 300 exhibit booths, 8 breakout rooms over the course of 2.5 days, and it's amazing. I think and again, it's really important for me to always be really congruent with this messaging. But I don't know if I would have done it had I known what I was getting into. Once I was in it, it was like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? Because it was so enormous. and such a big undertaking and big shoes, to step into.
Hmm.
So that's probably, I mean, it's truly, I think what's exciting for me is with my background in working and driving the online community is what we're able to do with technology and
Hmm.
live streaming. And, we can go to, all parts of the world, and we can connect women from, areas that maybe they're not able to be able to get access to this information, but because of technology, we're able to get to them. So it's exciting. Our focus and what we've done is we looked at 50 years of study that Gallup poll did, and they said, they looked at, what leads to the most exciting life, what leads to a life that's worth, really it's your best life. And what they came up with was that you had to have these 5 elements represented. So it was everything from, career, physical, having the energy to do the things you want to do, financial, having the means to do the things you want to do, social, the relationships, and then community. And community being, how are you, serving your community? How are you going back and contributing? And so they looked at all those 5 areas. So when you look at the conference, you walk in and it's set up where all those 5 areas are represented into a community. We even have a tree in the center of the exhibit hall that represents our tree of just community, and it's a town that we've set up. And then what we've done is we've taken that and put that onto the website. So we've got a new release that's coming with Women Network the first of the year, and really expanding on those 5 elements and recognizing that, again, you can have, maybe financially you're set, but if you aren't taking care of yourself physically, you're not going to be able to do the things that you want to be able to do. And so it's really important, all 5 of those areas lead to your best life, and how important it is to have those 5 connect.
And are those areas, the things that you constantly implement that gave you the wherewithal as well as the strength and the endurance and the stability to be able to do things like this?
No. I think we're always learning. I think if anyone tells you that they've got all the pieces and they've got it completely figured out, I think they're kidding themselves. Truly, it's super important. And the way that we're shaped is we don't have all the answers, but collectively, and our theme for the conference and for the website is better together. And we truly are. It's how do we come together? How are we better together? And so to answer your question, I had the conference. It was great. We got through it. It was, truly, a global conference, and got done with the conference and really crashed health-wise. I ended up, and again, I'm pretty vocal. I had somebody that stood up in my audience. I was speaking to an audience after the conference, and they said, gosh, you have it all together, and you got the great family and the great career and everything. And I said, what, time out. I actually, because I wasn't paying attention to one of the 5, which is physical, I wasn't working out, wasn't doing the things just to keep that energy and keep healthy. And I ended up getting the worst case of psoriasis. It was like having chicken pox, and it got so bad I had my hair was falling out, and horrible. And it wasn't until I started asking my girlfriends and friends, like, have you had this happen? Went to many doctors, was getting prescribed antibiotics and everything, which I didn't want to take. And it was my sister, my younger sister, who said to me, oh, I had that happen. And it was simple as going to Whole Foods and picking up some special shampoo. And within 24 hours, it completely took care of it. So the lesson there is, one is, ask for the help. And we don't, again, have to come across as having it all together. And I think sometimes we do that. And that's why those 5 areas, it hit me hard, because it was, in order for me to do the things that I want to do from a mission and really fulfilling this mission and be able to have the largest community for women globally, I need to have the energy and my health, to be able to do that. And so it was a really big eye-opener, after the conference.
Well, I think we take it for granted. Now, you mentioned global. Where were some of the countries or areas where women came to from into your conference?
Oh, well, we had Helen Reddy come in from Australia to sing
Great.
"I'm Woman," but it was interesting. We had one individual that was reaching out from China and kept saying, I need help with a visa. I need help with a visa to get over there. And then we ended up getting an actual email from University of Irvine saying, this person, this is true. They are coming from a school over in China. They want to come and be at the conference. And so, although we have the majority coming from the U.S., we have many that come from all over the world. And what's exciting is now, I mean, we have opportunities to go to Israel and to go to Ireland. We had an event in the Bahamas, and we had an event in Costa Rica. I'll be in New York next week doing an event. So it's actually been explosive, is just to see, how many want to have our Five to Thrive and this messaging from the conference, and also be able to connect the dots, not only just with women, but it's men and women being able to come together to make sure that the resources are available. And what's exciting is when you look back, the conference started again 30 years ago, and I always joke, it was started by a man. It was Governor George Duke Majan who started the conference, and when he started it, he was finding that women were opening up businesses and they were failing at a rapid rate. And he said, what can we do to be able to go ahead and pull these resources together so that women can have access, to these mentors, to these coaches, to the various organizations that can support them. And if you ask him, he'll say, I got it started, but his wife Gloria was the one that really got it going. And the irony is, Desiree, and again, I'm a firm believer in there are no accidents. I interviewed the governor who started the conference the same year that he started it, 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll love this. So for the 8th grade school paper.
Wow. I was going to say, you don't look old enough at all.
So he was so generous, and he was just this really kind soul. But, I'm interviewing and I'm asking him very important, political questions like, what's your favorite hobby? How many kids do you have? And he responds and he says, Michelle, that was the best interview I've ever heard.
Oh.
And I left there and I was like, I want to be governor. And it's the first time that somebody outside of my family had said, you matter, you count. And I remember leaving there just feeling that confidence and empowered. You open up the conversation of being empowered, but just feeling like I could contribute and make a difference. And I believe with women in particular is we have that feeling of we're not enough. We need to do everything, and if we don't do everything, then that means we didn't do enough. And really, we are absolutely perfect and beautiful exactly the way we are. And if we can come together and collectively support one another, which is what we're doing through Women Network, then that's the power. That's the excitement that builds, and that's when you're really able to create magic.
And I agree with you 100%, because that empowering women, that's kind of our same mission, was to take women and through different experiences, the best teacher, and being able to, their experiences, sharing their stories, their challenges, their victories, and their secrets to success, be able to empower each other. Because like you mentioned, any day, at any time, we could be either really, really empowered, or we need that extra boost of empowerment. It's just part of the journey. And no one can say that now, by us really putting a lot of attention on our Let's Talk Success program, we're really spotlighting women who've been very successful and allowing them to share that information to everyone, because again, we need to hear from those who've been there and done that. You've interviewed, or you've been involved with a lot of successful women, including yourself. But what are some of the things that you see are a common denominator in their ability to be successful, or in their attitude, or even in their way that they handle and continue and sustain their success? Because as you mentioned, a lot of women have great ideas, great talents, but they don't have that great success in their business. which does affect us everywhere else. It affects our home life, our personal life, and so forth. So what are some of the things that you've seen others, then I'm going to ask you what are some of the things that you would recommend for women to do?
No, I think that's an excellent question. And what's interesting, and I meet women all over the world. I mean, I had the honor 2 weeks ago, I had dinner with Hillary Clinton. You know,
Wow,
yeah,
congratulations.
and and Ariana Huffington was part of our conference. I was saying, and again, I mean, we're talking these powerful, amazingly talented, brilliant women from all over the world. And I mention their names because it's so amazing. It doesn't matter if you're talking to somebody in the United States or you're in China or you're wherever you're at, there's a common theme. And at the end of the day, that theme is, how do we support our family? How do we go ahead and give back? How do we, really that mindset of being better together is becoming more and more prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. It's even though we're at different levels in our journey and different places, and some women will refer to it as, we're at different seasons of our life.
Mm-hmm.
There's that common theme of, how do I take care of my community? And that's why that piece was so important, is the community piece, is let me go ahead and give back. There's that feeling with the Five to Thrive of how do I contribute? And when I met Hillary, my comment to her was, congratulations on Charlotte. Here she's a brand new, she's a brand new grandma. And again, I know with me, I've got two teenagers. I'll get home, they don't care who I met with, what celebrity I was with, what mom's doing. What they care about is, is their mom, there? Is their mom present? And then, I fall prey to the cell phone, and, I'm in the prayer mode while I'm on my, my iPhone or my Samsung, and they have the same response. And it's really being able to go back. And that's why I'm so passionate about being able to be an advocate for women, is because women, if we support our women, they will in turn go back and support our communities. It's the fastest way that our world can make an impact, is by giving women these resources and these tools. And really what's happening is we're tapping into 100% of the talent pool versus 50% of the talent pool. And I love, there's a comment that Warren Buffett has, and he says, I'm so excited about the state of the economy for the United States because of women, because women are really taking a leap, and they're getting into business, and they're leading this charge. And so you've got this unique time right now where if women could feel that, again, they're supported, that they're not alone, that they absolutely can make a contribution, what's happening is, again, we're tapping into 100% of the talent pool. And we would do this as well for our men. If it was, we don't want it to be all women. We were, a nation of all women. We have great, wonderful mentors in our men, and they're great, leaders. And it goes back to, how can we have that diversity and collectively come together to be able to provide the best solutions possible.
Well, I know and I hear, how valuable community is, and just being able to not only be able to, I think women do a great job at that, as far as we are on our journey, we're always looking back and willing to pull, up the person behind us, as well as support the person in front of us. So that itself is one of this natural ability that we have. I think it's going to make a big difference. Also, it is our time now. In our generation, in our lifetime, I think we will experience a women's president and a lot of other positions where women are taking threshold. Not to discount men at all, but just it's this time to be able to neutralize that playing field, which I think is empowered. So for women to prepare themselves for all the wonderful things that are to become not only worldwide, but individually, give us one secret to success that you would say, like one thing that each woman needs to grasp and embrace or endorse to be able to really make sure that they reach their dreams?
So thank you. Again, another great question. So the number one thing is ask. The number one thing. It's ASK. And I think, too, I shared with you, the highs, the lows, if I knew what I was getting into with this California Women's Conference. And I had to learn truly the hard way of what really does that mean from an ask standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And I had shared, taking on the California Women's Conference in 2012. I mean, huge undertaking. I had hired a sponsorship company that has since gone out of business. They had pipelined $7 million in funding, and this event, it's a multi-million-dollar event. Out of the $7 million in total, they came in with $100,000 total. So 17 days before this amazing event, where we've got 200 speakers, exhibitors, 17 days before the event, I was 1.8 million in a deficit. And I had to go back in and be able to, with a phenomenal group of people, but raise this money, figure out different workarounds, how that was going to work. And we ended up bringing in 1.65 million.
Wow.
During those 17 days. And it's funny because the PR folks that we were working with said, Michelle, do not share, don't share this story. And I said, that's the problem, is that we're not sharing and we're not asking for the help, and we're coming in where we've got to have it all together. And quite frankly, we weren't made that way. That's not how we're structured. That's not how we're set up. Collectively, we have it all, but individually, it's the days of working in silos and independently of one another is over. It's how can we collectively come together and create these amazing, amazing experiences. And that's what we did with the conference. So ended up going into that day and had some really, I had 2 meltdowns where I had, carved out, 2 15-minute periods of time where I could cry. But otherwise, the time was spent from 7 in the morning till 10 p.m. at night is just making phone calls and calling every single person. Literally, it felt like every single person I've ever met, and letting them know I needed their help. I needed them to invest. Otherwise I was going to have to shut this conference down. So I look back now and I know exactly why I had that experience, because it was for me to be able to share with other men and women. It's the gift of when you ask. And again, some people were very receptive. Some people looked at me like, you know what? No way. My good friends, I had some friends who tried talking me out of it. We had an investor who said, Michelle, shut the event down. And I said, I'm not doing that. And he said, lots of people shut events down. Lots of people do. So it was just that type of, it was really a life-changing experience. But what it taught me is truly we are better together. And by asking for the help and being vulnerable and checking our ego and really recognizing you have beautiful talents. We have, we show up and we have our genius. But it doesn't mean that you have to have every single piece. And what happens oftentimes is women in particular, we're reluctant to make that leap because we think we have to have all those pieces. And by asking for the help, we can go ahead and achieve our mission, as well as fulfill other missions and other dreams if we ask for the help.
And Michelle, that is so very huge, because every person that I've interviewed with, basically, it really winds down to that many times, whether it's male or female, but specifically the female is the ask, and you hear that all the time. You think, what's the big deal? But one, it does humble us, which I think is really huge, and it makes us transparent. And it's an experience that once we do go through it and make it through it on the other side, one, we're able to really appreciate what we do have and appreciate the people that are really in support of us. Because you're not only satisfying your goals and missions, but you're allowing them to participate in that success. The people that did invest in your project, you allow them to contribute their expertise, their time, their finances to your success. You allow them to rise and experience that success. So I think it's something that we really need to take advantage of and do, and just really say that wherever we are, whenever the occasion arises, it's not just all about us, but to allow other people to participate in building this together. And that goes back to the sense that you say about community. You know, it's not just Michelle Patterson or the California Women's Conference, it's the community of people that really get a chance to participate in it. And I want to make sure that our listeners, you know, resonate and really leave them with that thought, you know, that it's just to ask. Because again, I hear it all the time and you hear it all the time, and you know, it's just really being able to put it into motion and make it a part of our, just exercising that muscle, any opportunity that we get. So in closing, what empowering thought would you like to leave our listeners with today?
I think the biggest thing is, you know, where I'm having the time of my life right now, but I also looked at it as, you know, what is it? What are those next steps? And I think sometimes we don't know where we want to go. We don't know what our dream is. And so what happens is, if you haven't really sat down and come up with, you know, what makes your heart sing? You know, what is it that you want to do? What happens is others will come in and they'll drive their agenda and have you going down their path of what their dream is. But I would encourage, you know, I challenge you is, you know, what is it that you want to have happen? And then secondly is start sharing that. Share that vision, share that mission, because what will happen is others will want to be a part of that. They'll want to share in that excitement. But if they don't know about it, and if you're not sharing that, then they can't participate. And again, and that's, for me, that's probably the biggest thing, is evaluating is, how is it that you know, I'm having this amazing life. I mean, every day is super exciting, but I'm creating that, and it's very deliberate. So that's what I would encourage your audience is, you know, what is it that you absolutely love doing, and what's going to make your heart sing, and then do it. Go and share, and recognize you're going to have bad days, you're going to have great days. You know, I had a bad day a couple weeks ago. We all have them. It's okay. That doesn't mean you give up. That doesn't mean you run the other way. But it means, you know, it means you keep that mission, you keep that goal right in front of you, and that makes it so that you can stay on that path.
Yes, because without those, you don't realize the value of your success. It only enhances your success when you do reach it, and it is part of the process. And if it's that easy, then maybe you're not trying hard enough or striving high enough. So that is definitely a valued message to share with. And I want to thank you so much for being part of our circle of influencers. You do have an influence among many people and many women, and empowering them and to supporting them. And I welcome you to our Let's Talk to Success. Let's Talk to Success. And I also want to encourage all our listeners to visit yourwomennetwork.com. Is that correct? And
correct.
Be part of that community as well.
Excellent. No, we love to have you part of it, and that's what's so nice is we have your organization that's a part of it, but it really is, it's the largest community for women globally. And then you can go there and see, you know, what is it that makes my heart sing? What resources do I need? Who do I need to follow up with? And engage on this community. So I look forward to working with you in the future, and thank you for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you. And until we meet again, stay empowered.
You too. Thanks.